Welcome back to Cosmic Comics. Today I'm going to be looking at the first appearance of the Guardians of the Galaxy. And let's just go ahead and get this out of the way. If you're here looking for Star-Lords, flying raccoons, or giant living plants, then you, sir, need to stick around and learn a few things. Because the original Guardians of the Galaxy come to us from approximately the year 3000 of Earth 691. If we wanted to get real nitty-gritty about it from a chronological perspective, the original Guardians of the Galaxy existed thousands of years prior to the end of the Earth 616 universe. If you want to learn more about them, please watch my video on the Lifestone Tree. The 4 original members are on the cover and introduced in Marvel Superheroes Volume 1, published in January of 1969. This issue was written by Arnold Drake, who created the characters, with artist Gene Colan. The 4 characters on the cover are from left to right: Major Vance Astro, Charlie 27, Martin X, and Yondu. The comic opens with Charlie 27 returning to Jupiter after running a solitary space militia mission. The people of Jupiter call themselves Jovians. We're told in the opening panels that Charlie 27 and all other humans on Jupiter that their bodies have been adapted at birth to withstand conditions of 11 times the mass and 3 times the gravity of Earth. This would make any Jovian extremely strong and resilient when on any planet similar to Earth. Charlie 27 lost radio contact with his home planet several months prior, but he never expected to arrive home and find nobody present. In fact, he was expecting a party in his honor. As Charlie 27 attempts to locate anybody living on what appears to be a now-dead world, we are introduced to the Badoon for the first time. The Badoon are an ancient reptilian race, older than both the Skrulls and the Kree, who live in a sharply gender-divided society. In fact, the genders are so divided that at some point they begin living on separate planets. The males are ruled by a king on the planet Mord, and the females are ruled by a queen on the planet Lotiara, also known as Swamp World. At some point in their past, and following numerous gender wars, the males gained the technological advantage, and after that point, they kept the females of their species captive on the planet Lotiara and only return when they need to mate. The females of the species have adopted a pacifist way of life and have been kept ignorant of the male Badoon's empire building across the galaxy. Back to the story at hand. Charlie 27 must have known that the Badoon were a threat to Earth's solar system because he's shocked to see them on Jupiter and surprised that they have already made it this far. He quickly overpowers the Badoon by tossing them both into an incinerator that is intended as a garbage dump. One thing that always drives me a little batty when reading this first counter is, how are the Badoon capable of surviving Jupiter's super strong gravity? Each of the Jovians had to be engineered at birth to live here, but the Badoon walk around like it's no big deal, and from all accounts I have read, they do not have any kind of super strength. Maybe this is why Charlie 27 takes them out with such ease. Charlie's journey across his homeworld continues. He attempts to make it home and possibly save his parents, but his arrival is too late. As he shows up, he sees his father being whisked away to a labor camp where Jovians are being forced to mine highly radioactive, high-intensity Harkovite without any form of protection. Charlie notes that they will all die of radioactivity within 5 days. It's at this moment that the Badoon catch up to Charlie 27. During the fight, he realizes that if he has any hope of him and his family surviving, that he needs to get off of Jupiter and reconnect with the United Lands of Earth, a federation that prior to the Badoon invasion had ruled over dozens of planets. In a desperate attempt to escape, Charlie runs towards the nearest teleport depot and dives in, not knowing where it might take him. The trip through space isn't instantaneous. 2 hours later, Charlie 27 arrives on Pluto, where he is greeted by another seemingly dead world. He then finds himself in atmospheric suit, or a suit, and some food before leaving to scout out the situation on Pluto. It's not long before the Badoon are on Charlie 27's tail. His scent is caught by a Saturnian hound hawk, and the animals are released to give chase. As the hound hawks close in, a voice calls out to Charlie 27, offering him refuge. Inside the darkened hideaway, Charlie 27 meets Martin X. Martin X is a Pluvian, which is a native of Pluto, also known as a crystal man and occasionally referenced by the racial slur rockhead. Just like the Jovians, the Pluvians have been engineered from birth to survive the extremes of the planet they live upon. We're told that the Pluvians evacuated their planet months ago, but Martinex remained behind to blow up key industrial complexes. In order for Charlie 27 and Martinex to escape, Martinex uses a radio transmitter to activate a number of androids who will temporarily distract the Badoon. While the Badoon are occupied with that problem, the first half of the Guardians of the Galaxy run to the teleporters. Once there, they introduce themselves to each other and set the controls for the home planet of the ULE, Earth. We now switch over to the other half of the Guardians. Major Vance Astro and Yondu have both been brought before the Supreme Commander of the eastern section of the Badoon Empire. Major Vance Astro is the same person, sort of, as Vance Astrovic of the New Warriors of Earth 616, but from a divergent timeline. In his introductory panel, the Major refers to himself as the 1,000-year-old man. The Badoon commander knows all about Vance's past, but wants to hear the story from the source. Vance refuses, but the Badoon have the technology to make him comply and force him to tell the story via a memory probe. The year was 1988 on Earth 691, and Earth had already colonized the moon and landed on Mars. Right here is enough information to let you know that the timeline Major Vance Astrovic comes from diverged from Earth 616 prior to the 1980s. A young Vance is excited to be the first human to be sent to the stars. He's going to be preserved for 1,000 years and sent to the Beta Centauri star system. We're told the trip is going to take so long because due to Einsteinian physics, there's no way to exceed the speed of light. As he's about to leave, he's asked if there are any last requests, anything he wants to have them say or do, and man, this has always bugged me. He says yes, but then before the reader can find out what he wants, he's interrupted with a phone call from Bettina Marsh, a woman he loves. She's upset, but he insists it wouldn't have worked out anyway due to his ambition. And with that, Astor was told to have a good 365,000 nights sleep and sent on his way. Vance awakens 1,000 years in the future, on a planet where he doesn't know what awaits him on the other side. You might notice that he looks a little different. We're told that he's now enclosed in a copper foil wrapping that he will have to wear for the rest of his life. A single puncture of his suit will cause him to age 1,000 years in 1 second. Upon opening the doors, he's greeted by the last thing he would ever expect, a planet already populated by humans. One quick note on this panel, note that all the humans have their hair shaped up in a fin that looks like the one Yondu has. That's because this is the home planet of the Centaurians, and the humans must have taken on this style or look at some point to reflect the native population. As Vance exits his spaceship, he's in shock and he wants to know how they beat him there. He's informed that 200 years after he left, Harkovian physics replaced many of Einstein's theories. It was then determined, for unknown reasons, that they couldn't interfere with Major Astrovic's journey. The humans, having long awaited his arrival, are celebratory, but Major Astrovic just feels like a fool for leaving behind the life he had for nothing. With the Major's origin story out of the way, Vance wants to know why the Badoon haven't enslaved him like they did the rest of humanity. We're told that the Badoon could use a psych disc to make him a slave just like the rest of the humans, but for whatever reason they respect the special knowledge of a man who has lived 40 generations. In return for his free will, Vance is told he will be forced to betray his people. Vance insists that his people died 1,000 years ago, but the Badoon commander points out that he has at least one remaining person, the blue-skinned Yondu. Vance then insults Yondu, insisting that the Centauri are the dumbest people who ever lived and that he kept Yondu around for the laughs and nothing more. In return, the commander tells Vance that the Badoon Council has deemed the Centauri a race too inferior to survive and insists that if Vance doesn't care about Yondu, then he should have no problem killing him. Vance agrees, but requests that he be allowed to kill Yondu with his own weapon, the bow and arrow that had been taken from Yondu. Vance fires the bow at a shocked Yondu, who then whistles. The arrow changes direction and begins attacking the Badoon. Oddly, the Badoon should have seen this coming, as one instantly remarked that the arrow is made out of a sound-sensitive mineral that responds to sounds and is found on Yondu's homeworld. Yondu and Vance make their escape out a window, and here we are first introduced to Vance's mutant telekinetic abilities. He claims that he can't maintain carrying them both for long, but it should be long enough for them to reach the nearest teleportation station. It's at this moment that Charlie 27 and Martinex arrive at the same station. Upon exiting, they immediately clash with a couple of Badoon who are easily dispersed. Yondu and Vance arrive, mistaking Charlie 27 and Martinex for Badoon slaves. Martinex is capable of thermokinesis, which allows him to harness the heat out of his surroundings and environment. He can then use this energy offensively as thermal beams of either heat or cold. Using the cold portion of his power, Martinex stops Yondu's arrow. In return, Vance blasts Martinex with a burst of psychic energy. Charlie 27 then tries to throw Vance against a wall, but once again, Vance uses his psychic powers to save himself. As more Badoon rush in, Vance comes to the conclusion that the two that they're fighting against aren't Badoon or under Badoon control, and the four heroes team up to take out the reinforcements. Once the fight is over, our four heroes decide to attempt to find the remaining free colony of humans. Vance knows only that the free colony began in New York, and because of this, that's where he chooses to take his newfound friends. Once there, the four of them gather together for a resounding chorus of "We shall overcome," with the words change to "Earth shall overcome." It's with this song, and a background of New York in flames, that we leave behind the Guardians of the Galaxy. Note that at no point in this issue do the Guardians of the Galaxy ever refer to themselves by that name, but we're told in the final panel that one day legends will be told of those that shall be known as the Guardians of the Galaxy. For those of you following the series as a whole, this now opens the door for me to discuss Korvac, whom I need to cover before talking about the Collector, whom I need to discuss before I can move on to the Grandmaster's Contest of Champions and then Atlantis Attacks. Thanks for watching. Feel free to hit any of the buttons below. I'm out.